If you want to learn how to paint this rustic style sled, stay tuned. Hi everyone, I'm Chris. Welcome to my studio, Create with Chris. Today I'll be showing you how to paint this rustic sled, perfect for the winter season. I'll show you how to create a textured look that's easy to paint and absolutely stunning when finished. I'll be sharing tips, tricks, and techniques to make painting easy and impressive. I think you're going to really love creating this project, so grab your brushes and let's get started. This wood kit is available from cdwood.com, and I'll put the link down in the description below. It is I believe there's 14 pieces in it, which makes it really nice and easy to paint. I'm base coating the sled with blue suede, which is a folk art chalk paint. I love the chalk paint. Normally it takes just one coat coverage, and I'm using an 1.5-inch brush. This is soft bristle, so I can put those long, even strokes on, and it just cuts out. You don't even need to prep the surface. It's a prep and a sealer and a paint all in one. Such an easy way to go and makes this project so quick. Now this is the runner for the sled, and I was trying to hold it because I didn't want to get paint all over my tabletop, but I just put a paper towel down. This is cobblestone. I thought it looked a little bit like the metal. And I just want to paint all of the metal runner section on the sled. And because it's layered, I don't have to worry about painting that curved section because I have that overlay. And this is the little two ends that stick out on the back of the sled. This is the brim of the hat, and I'm using Maui sand, which is a deep dark gray. These are beautiful colors. Again, I'm just being careful on how I apply the paint. I want to paint it past where that overlay will be so that I don't have any open areas or bare spaces when I layer the wood pieces. This is Milk Jug, and with this I probably am going to need 2 coats using the Triangle Cosmetic Sponge. I'm just putting a little bit of paint on the flat of the sponge. I have a very light touch and I'm just tapping it. Keeps those side edges nice and clean. Just looks a little more professional. So easy to do, but if you push hard, it's going to smoosh down the sides and get a little messy. So just be patient, and I'm using tape to hold those letters in place. It makes it super easy to paint if they don't scooch around. This is fired clay, another beautiful color. And I'm using my number 6 Spectacular stencil. I like some of these snowflakes, but not all of them. So I'm just kind of stenciling the ones that I like. And I'm not putting on a super heavy dark layer. Every time I load my brush, I just wipe it on a paper towel to remove excess. And then I can scoot the stencil around and fill in with the snowflakes that I do like. So even though the stencil has a certain pattern on it, you can pick and choose what parts of it you want to use and which parts you don't like. So it makes it super versatile if you can shuffle it around and just fill in the areas that you want. And look how nice that's filling in. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on what's behind. I'm not too particularly fussy about making sure that they're all dark and heavy. I like that almost a layered look of light and dark on the snowflakes, because some of them would be closer, some of them look a little further away, and this is just background, so I'm not even that particularly concerned about it being perfect for that reason. I do want this to be a little more rustic, so I'm using a foam sanding pad and just sanding over top, kind of pushing down a little heavier on the edges and the corners to wear that paint down to get more of a distressed look. And you can see how that very easily creates that worn look. And I am using walnut gel stain. This is a Deco Art, and I just loaded the toe of my angle brush, 1/2-inch angle, and then I'm taking you can use a baby wipe, a damp paper towel. And I love the look of this. It just looks like this metal has been very aged. And I'm not painting it solid, a little heavier around the outer edges. And then when I take that paper towel or baby wipe, it just softens it down and leaves just a perfect amount left. It's just such an easy way, and you can see how quickly I did that. I did want to go around the edge of the sled also, and I was a little heavy-handed with the walnut stain, so I went back and just picked up more water on my brush so I can move that stain around a little bit. It looks really pretty. And the amount of antiquing that you use or the stain is a personal preference. You can add as much or as little as you like. I thought it would be kind of fun to add the look of slats or separate boards down the sled, but after I did it, I thought it was a little too much, so I just used my baby wipe to wipe that back, and I softened it down, and I still wanted the snowflakes to be the main focus, but I gave that hint of the look of a little bit of boards in the background. And just wipe it down to what you want. And even if it's a little bit too much, it can always be sanded. This is the brim of the hat, and I'm still doing that little bit of sanding around the edge. And with paper towel, it was just kind of awkward and scooted around. So with the sanding, it's not messy. I just went and hit those outer edges. I did on the face give 2 coats. Sanding the nose down. I want everything to be distressed pretty much the same level so they all look like they fit together. Okay, on the letters, you just have to be a little more careful. They can be a little bit delicate. I had to kind of figure out until I got the hang of how to distress them, but I found out if I laid the letters down flat, put my hand across it, and anchored it pretty strong, that it didn't scoot around, and it was easy to get that distressing. Now for the antiquing, I just put a little bit of water and thinned down the walnut stain and just washed it over the lettering, and you can see it gives it a real nice antique effect. And just take your time on these letters, and I did speed this up so it's not quick and fast and easy. It is easy, but it's not as fast as what it looks. I just took my time. I decided on these because they're small and I didn't want fingerprints on them. It'd be easiest to just anchor them with a piece of painter's tape, and I just curled the edges under. And look at that antiquing. It's so beautiful. And this is watered down, so it's really easy to cover it and really easy to wipe it off. And you can put as much or as little. I did go back and add a little more on the big lettering. I wanted all the pieces to be antiqued, and on the hat I was just going to go around the outer edge, leave that center a little bit open, but then I decided I would just do it all. And then when I wipe it off, I can be a little heavier handed in the center. See how I can wipe that face down, leave it a little darker around the outside edge. I love this gel stain. It's a water-based stain, very easy to work with. And I did take just a little bit of that thin milk jug and just washed it over the slats of the sled just to brighten that up a little bit. Now for the actual grunge part. This is Java, and I put a little bit of paint on my palette, and then I take the flat of my palette knife and I run it through the paint and pull it flat across the bottom of my palette knife, and you can see what a beautiful texture that provides. Now you can add as much or as little of this texture as you prefer, but I kept it a little heavier around the outer edges, and I keep it kind of minimal because in my mind, I can always go back and add more. If it becomes too heavy or too thick on the palette knife, you'll just get a solid blob. So make sure to just have a little tiny bit on the flat of the knife and reload often. And you can see there on the left side, it's a little bit heavier because I had probably too much paint on my palette knife, but because it was on the corner like that, I thought it looked a little bit aged, so I left it there. And just take your time and go around slowly. I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of milk jug on there, same technique. It just makes it look a little bit frosty. And I love that look. I just was kind of playing around to see what it would look like. I'm just taking my number 5 Radical Round and painting that blue suede as a hat band. And because it's really kind of dark and the hat's a little bit dark, I loaded my script liner, and this is an 18 Epic script liner, with thinned milk jug and just doing some fun plaid stripes. And what is nice about this, they don't have to be perfect, and I can just pull it across and look at that. It just adds a little bit of design, still keeps that rustic look. And this is lamp black. I thought I would just deepen that shading, put a little shading above the hat band and on the left side of the hat. Just gives a little more drama, a little more dimension, and just helps to break some of that darkness up. Sometimes it's hard to add shadowing on a dark color, but this looks great. I wanted to strengthen that look of snow on the top brim, and I can use a paintbrush, but I had that palette knife. So you can see I overloaded it, and it creates that look of a little bit of a snowdrift. Be careful, you don't want to add too much, but it's so easy to pop it on. For the eyes, I just took a pencil mark and marked the center of the eyes. I'm using my painter's pal to stencil the eyes, and this is that rich black that I used on the shading of the hat. And my number 3 stencil brush. Loaded my Epic script liner with thinned black, add a couple little eyebrows and some eyelashes, always make it look a little more whimsical and a little happier. Usually I do about 3. This is my diverse dry brush, and I've loaded some of this is Imperial that I mixed with a little bit of the milk jug just to give a lighter pink, and I'm just dry brushing it until I get to a nice intensity on the cheeks. Mixed a little bit of milk jug with the blue suede. I'm just floating a tiny little highlight in the eyes. The eyes always make a big difference, so I put a little extra time into the eyes. This is dip dotting the snow white in the eyes for a little bit of a sparkle, and then add a comma stroke there in the bottom and the right hand side. For the mouth, I decided to do little coals, and I'm just using the handle end of my brush. I like it to be a bigger coal in the center and smaller as they go up, and just let it, I like them to be a little bit irregular so they look like coals. This is Java. I'm just deepening the shading around the bottom of the face, and then a little bit below each one of those mouth coals. And it just looks like those little coals are stuck into that snowy face and makes them look like they fit in. Adding just a little hint of float on their face, the eyes, and under the eyebrows. It just really brings all those features out so nice. And I'm just taking a clean brush and kind of softening anywhere it seems a little bit messy. Add a tiny bit of sparkle with Snow White in the top left of those coals, and that's exactly what it does. It really makes them sparkle, gives a little bit of dimension. Isn't that just as cute as can be? I wanted the snow on the nose to fit in a little more, so I just put a little float of Java below the nose, the snow on the nose, and then just for more whimsy, I paint a little snowflake on the cheeks or a sparkle using Snow White and just dip dotting the ends using the handle end of my brush. I want it to be a really strong dip dot. I forgot to add a little bit of grunge on the nose, so I just loaded my palette knife with Java, kind of scraping it across the bottom. And be careful on the face. You don't want to overdo it, but it needed just a little bit more just to tie it all together. And again, this is personal preference. You can leave the step off. I thought I needed to go in and add a little bit on the lettering. Now, if you want printed directions instructions to do this. Check the description below. I've listed all the links so you can pick up the wood kit and the pattern. And it does have color picture and step-by-step instructions. I just think adding this little bit of texture on the lettering adds so much, and it really makes it stand out. And there's no way to achieve this texture with using a paintbrush, and it's not hard to do. It's just keeping that palette knife flat on the letters and then also not overloading it. And it just is amazing what texture that creates. Using the Aleene's tacky glue to glue the nose on and the brim of the hat. I just found this Aleene's glue, and it stores upside down, so the tip is always pointed down. Never have to wait. It's wonderful. I never have to wait for the glue to roll down, and it doesn't seem like the nozzle gets plugged up. It was really easy to use, and because it stands up in the lid, you don't have to worry about losing the cap or trying to figure out how to get the tip cleaned out. And I'm just using the white tacky glue to glue all the pieces on. And I was going to use hot glue on this, but I was so excited about the new glue that I just did everything with the Aleene's. And it holds really well. Make sure to press it down, get all the air bubbles out, and it'll stay on forever. Now, I always arrange the pieces before I glue them on just to make sure everything's going to fit on there the way that I envisioned it. And you can move it around for a certain point in time, but once they're on, then they are on. So make sure you have them in the right place, because once they start to stick, they just do not come off. This is such a fun, I love the layers. The layers make it so easy to create. And I think when it's finished, it looks so nice because nothing is messy. I did go back with a little bit of the milk jug just to kind of add the look of snow or frost on the runners, and then I brightened up some of the letters on with just a little bit of that too. I just thought it just was starting to look a little bit dull. Loaded my splatter brush with thinned milk jug, adding some snow. I think this always really makes it cohesive, brings everything together. Be careful when you're doing the snow that you don't get it in the face. I wanted to use a bow, and I've just used what I have on hand. This is some burlap that I cut, sisal, strips of muslin that I ripped. Wanted to keep this very neutral and bring in those colors, the browns, the earthy colors of the sled and the snow. This is a wired organdy ribbon, and it just adds a little bit of frilliness. This one is a satin ribbon. I just wanted to kind of mix the textures. A little bit more of the muslin. I like that kind of a country farmhouse look. And another layer of the organdy ribbon. And tie that. Oh, I did put some jute in the center and then fluff it up. Thought it would be pretty on the side instead of right in the center. And I'll just hot glue that in place. And I think the colors worked out really well with this. Stuck a little bit of greenery, and I just snipped the ends off of some old pine branches I had. These are really old, but I believe you can pick those up. Found some little pine cones and little berries, and I just cut a little teeny cluster of these berries off. I think I got the berries at Dollar Tree last year at Christmas, and just kind of tucked them in. Just breaks up that background. The pine cones seemed a little bit dark, so I just took the milk jug paint, kind of brushed the tips of the pine cones, and look how pretty they are. I think that really makes them sparkle and stand out. It enhances that design of the pine cones. And I'll just stick a cluster of 3 in the center of that. I think that looks really sweet. I thought it needed a little bit of color, so I grabbed a couple birds and the camera was off, so I just painted them red, painted their beaks salted caramel, dip dot a rich black eye, and distressed it the same as I did all the other pieces, and I absolutely love how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and give it a thumbs up. If you want to recreate this project, everything I use is listed in the links below. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what you think of this project. I look forward to our next painting adventure together, and remember, a little bit of paint makes a big difference.